I want to go back really quick to pandas because you said you were mentioning art in China. Would you say dragons are real then? How
I
do you
think
feel about
dragons
dragons?
have a much, much higher. That's the thing. I try not to make claims I can't back up. So
I want a dragon rant from you at some point.
I would think that dragons have a much, much, much higher probability that they existed than pandas.
Yeah.
But again, I mean, but you just look at the art all over the world. It's like the flood. It's
Hmm.
like every group has a flood story.
Yeah.
So it's like dragons are in Europe, they're in Africa, they're in South America, they're in China. They're all the archetype of the dragon. Now, is that a magnification of a lizard? Is that like a metaphor? Or is there dragons? I don't know.
Right.
But there's so much more historical accounts of dragons. There's no old Chinese stories about a panda.
Yeah.
Like none.
Panda propaganda is at an all-time high.
You know what I find interesting? Sorry, this is a minor segue. So simulation theory. We were kind of talking about that there's some myths that can be unbroken, but like simulation theory, I think it's a metaphor and it's right in the middle for people that want to break through to the other side.
Yeah.
What is
absolutely.
simulation theory beyond God?
Yeah.
Simulation theory is a cope for people that they're so in deep with this nihilist atheist world, but they've been in touch with the divine. And they just want to say it so bad. Oh, we're in a simulation, and there's a simulator, and everything's according to his whim and his creation.
Yeah. You're almost
so
there.
God.
Yeah.
So you mean
100%.
God then? And so there's so many of these things, and that kind of analogy is similar to your joke about like, oh, I'll buy them, adoption.
Yeah, exactly.
And
Right.
so it's like, why do these talking points persist? Do you guys think that I'm correct in the sense that it's people wanting to say it without saying it? Like they want to say God, but they just can't bring themselves to say it. Like they lose a
100%.
point if
Yeah.
they do.
I don't even know if they know they want to say it, but it seems like simulation theory is an appetizer for atheists to get into God.
Then why does Elon say simulation theory? Like, isn't he like a theist?
Because they got a sacred cow there. I think when you say God, doesn't matter how religious you are, you have to give up some control because you can't comprehend that level, you know. But when you say simulation, oh, a programmer. Why don't it be a funny exercise is write out Christianity from a coding perspective where instead of a binary, it's a trinary. It's like 0, 1s, and 2s. It's three, right? And then you start getting into Father, Son, Holy Spirit, where you're like,
Right.
the code is a trinary, and you just start laying it out. And then people are like, oh, this makes sense. And you're like, this is an exact metaphor for the Bible. It's just, you're keeping it in a realm where you don't have to give up. Because like anybody who really believes in like a God, you are always going to give up something to the unknown. But you can picture a man making a world, but like God is like so much bigger and they feel they have to be able to understand everything. And I'm like, I'm very comfortable not knowing if dragons existed. I can just think about it.
It seems like marketing from the other side. To me, simulation theory is saying like the evidence of the truth is in front of you, but it's not what these other people are saying it is. So like if there is a God, like I would look at that from a normie perspective and saying he must be right all the time. But if it's a programmer, that person can be fallible, and it's okay to rebel against that.
I think it's
not accept that worldview.
I think it's
It's an
supposed
opt out.
yes,
Yeah.
because all these people, their worldview, supposedly, because it's not true. It's not true at all. But the way they market themselves is like, we are the ultimate empiricist. Like everything is proven by data and science, despite that they're this is actually a whoop-de-whoop. It's not a woman. It's a whoop-de-whoop. We call it whoop-de-whoop now, and everyone's like, "Oh, yes, the whoop-de-whoop."
Yeah.
You know, in ancient recollection, you can see the whoop-de-whoops in the Yami dog. And,
Archaeologists pull up the
and they
whoop-de-whoop.
always have to do like it's empirical, and they makes things up. But these are and I always like to say, these are the people that copied my homework in high school. They got a D in the science class, and everyone in my high school faked their science project. And I'm supposed to believe that these people. And by the way, scientist is also a spell. Science is steps. It's like 7 steps.
Bro,
Like,
100%.
anyone can be a scientist.
Yeah.
I doth declare myself a scientist because I've done 7 steps.
Well, they
what-
made a priest class. They made a priest. They literally did everything they said they hate.
It's so
But they're
stupid.
like, no, you have to be approved. It's like, dude, anyone can do science. That's the whole point. It's a step. It's just steps.
But
Dude,
but
100%. You're crushing it.
thank you.
Yeah.
And like people
Yes,
that
just
like
made his day.
you don't even get it how much my day is marked. Like my son will be like born today, I bet.
No, you're saying exactly. I mean, it's exactly it. It's hilarious.
So,
And this is something to think about, though. Are they, a lot of atheists, I think, are rebelling against what was presented to them as God? Because I went through that. I'm from a small town with some really corrupt churches. And so it's hard. It was hard for me at first to say God because I'm like associating it with like Father Dan, you know?
right.
But like, I don't know if it's from up or below. Like, where is that? It's like the word cis. Like cis is a spell to make you think, as Norm Macdonald said, what was it? Something about normal. It's like, it's a pejorative for normal people. But now cis creates a binary. And I went further with the joke. I'm like, dude, it's like the word smegma made people cut off the tip of their dicks. And I'm like, just the word smegma. It's like, now you got to cut. And I'm like, and if you've been circumcised, you're basically trans. And then everyone freaks out.
You know what's also funny? These people, like kind of the people that assume this like popehood of intellectuals, the Sam Harris like, they all talk in the similar cadence.
NPR voice.
It's
NPR
NPR
voice.
voice. It's almost like hypnotic.
Yeah.
Lex Friedman, when he's talking about love, talks like this. And it's this ultimate, it's a spell. It's like the belief, and it's like, you're actually wrong. Because listen to how calm I am.
You know,
Only when you're calm.
I am logical.
can
I'm a
it
robot.
intellect-
Logical.
logic go through
MK
you.
Ultra had very close ties to magicians. Like the guy who was mentored by Houdini, John Mulholland, I believe, he was with the dudes doing acid, like to work on brainwashing people. He was involved with the Frank Olson agent, this guy who jumped out of the window supposedly after losing his mind. So like this magic hypnosis, we're in a country that's run by psycho magicians, and they come from all over. They come from all over. It's the Nazis, it's Jews from Brooklyn, and it's Soviets. They've all come together to make a
There's
band
no
of
one
psycho
label.
magicians.
There's no one label. I think that's what it's in the inverted. I love the inverted. In the inverted, you have what makes it even better is you have to go the opposite. Like if you're a psycho magician acid guy, you say you're a scientist and you're empirical when everything you're saying contradicts itself. Like Sam Harris is saying no one has free will and debates people. So you're like how can you be in a deterministic mechanized
That's a great
world
point.
and debate?
Yeah.
You can't have a justice system. You can't assign blame. You can't say someone, you can't
By the way,
teach anything. You can't do anything. It's like, it's just so contradictory.
Mr. Ultimate Empiricism, Mr. I am the science and all of this. The entire world is like, Sam, you are a effing idiot. Like you're so wrong. And here's like proof of you being an idiot. And he's like, actually, here's how you're wrong. So ironically, he's the person that when evidence is brought to him, he denies it.
Yep.
And so all these
And then
people,
they ad hominem attack. Then they take your credibility, like what they do with me.
Yep.
Want to know what makes people nuts? Nuclear bomb.
Yes.
When you show that the nuclear bomb story is absolutely retarded, they're like, oh, I can't believe I ever went to your show. I'm like, so you can't laugh with a comedian because I question the nuclear bomb narrative because they're so terrified.
It's ridiculous.
also the people that talk about the pot brownie are stoners. They do weed
100%.
every day.
Yeah.
Bro, I
So
live on
how
a
is your
farm
brain?
with 4 kids that I homeschool. I don't even drink. And they're like, he's went so far. Meanwhile, Bert Kreischer takes a shit on stage, literally.
Whoa.
Like Ari Shaffir starts whacking.
Right. I saw that. It's ridiculous.
Like on stage, they're like talking about their Thai sex adventures. Meanwhile, I'm literally doing everything I claim. Like I'm like, I don't trust the public school, so I'll homeschool. I don't like the food. I'll grow my food. We'll have our own social media that's clean. I'll start a magazine about homesteading. And they're like, oh, look at how deranged he is. And then they'll just be like a pot brownie. And I'm like, that's pure inversion.
Give him 10 years, dude. 10 years, people will be saying what you're saying today. But it was so funny when you went on I think it was one of your first atom bomb tears you were on. How long was that time between when you started and then when you heard someone on Rogan actually bring it up?
Well, that's the thing. At my level where I'm at, I'm not going to have the size of their audience, but I have tremendous cultural influence. Like, it's like, I'm like in the Himalayas, like North Idaho, I'm just sending out ripples. And then you
Like
just see all of society starts changing. And it's wild to see, dude. It's really wild. But yeah, like the nuke thing, there's no, what they claim is absolutely impossible. And the video that they show, and I'm like, you can say whatever, but I have expertise in film and television and production. I mean, I had Vivian Kubrick on my stream to talk about and how there's no way it was her dad because it was so ridiculously bad. And people are still like,
she was like, it would have been better.
Totally. The debate wasn't, is it fake? It's what did her dad do it? And the same with the nuclear footage. So you have, boom, nuclear bomb shows a house get vaporized. And I'm like, why didn't the camera get vaporized? And then every answer they give, I can counter, and they never listen. So they're like, oh, it was miles away with a zoom. So I do the math. I show the right angle. I'm like, look at the angle. It's like this. So if it's 5 miles away, I can do the math. So that means it was 70 feet in the air. And I'm just showing how there's no possible way. And then I show that the blast was coming from the direction of the camera. I'm like, so if it's so far away, the bomb is closer to the camera. And then there's an internal shot of the house.
Yeah.
I'm like, show me how there's a 1940s camera with that lens on it to do an internal shot of a house. And then I show that it's clearly a model. I show that it's like, this is Godzilla technology. And then I show that Hiroshima and Nagasaki have no fallout radiation at all. Even in 1946, no one evacuated. It's fine. And then they're like, but it was so high in the air. I'm like, so where is this fallout? I'm like, there was testing all over America that you could watch the mushroom clouds from Vegas. You can go there right now. There's no fallout. And they're like, so you're saying no one died in Japan? I'm like, no. I'm saying that the main thing, and they always do this, they want the will of God and ultimate fear and powerlessness. So man can destroy the world. So that presumption is what starts the hypnosis, where it's like the button, a man does a button and God's creation is destroyed. And then you should always fear it. And there's nothing you can do to remedy it. That's pure MK Ultra programming. And so when you say that, people don't want to give that up. And I'm like, no, I know big bombs exist. I know nuclear power exists. It's boiling water. That's what that is. You turn giant turbines. I'm like, one of my best friends is a nuclear physicist. I'll have him on the podcast. He'll explain this shit. And people are like, oh, 2 pot brownies. And so that's why I'm just like, I'm just going to do what I think is funny, you know?
I think it's great. I think the atom bomb is almost like another representation of American excellence in the same way the moon is. And people just, that's why they can't divorce themselves from
American excellence is American marketing.
Yeah, dude.
That is the ultimate, the way we make, dude, the American dream.
It's just PR. It's all
wizardry.
Just PR. Wizard PR.
We willed the desire of the human condition through a marketing campaign.
Yep.
A house and a wide picket fence.
Well, that's a good transition into, I know Owen's got to head out soon, but I want, since it's the July 4th weekend, people have been celebrating their freedom and independence. What do you make of people? Do you think it's necessary for people to have to confront losing everything to become free? Because you seem like a great example of someone who's found freedom creatively away from the institutions after the obstacles you have to go through.
Yeah, I think it's freedom is a lack of dependence on other people. And that's why one of the biggest things Kanye ever said that made everyone melt down is slavery is a choice. Because you want that external slaver who makes you wear chains and beats you when you're good. But in reality, slavery is a choice we make every single day. And slavery is about comfort and offloading responsibility and authority. And that's all it is. So like, I'm not allowed on YouTube. I'm not allowed on PayPal. I'm not allowed in clubs, and I'm painted on the wall, you know? And I could say I'm being tyrannized, but I'm not. I didn't build it. You know, you only control what you create. And that motivated me to start my little corner of the world with Bertaria and like our own little festivals and all that, because I'm not entitled to someone else's labor. And so then I started realizing what slavery is all about. And you get the government you deserve. A big government with a lot of debt spending and all this shit comes from people wanting it. And then if people wanted to take, like I live in an area with small government, because it's a lot of farmers, people have guns, they're like not a lot of crime. And then if you live in an area with a lot of crime and irresponsible behavior, you'll get a bigger government, more debt spending. And then there's a cost to that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like how meth is like biological usury. You know, you take it and then you have to pay it back with interest. It's the same with all this money. It's like, it's usury. All of it's usury. It's like, so yeah, you can get the comfort now, but you have to give up the family unit. Like, you know, because the magicians always have, they're always just moving around energy. They're like, you take energy here, we have to take it from here. You know, you want Woodstock and you want freedom. Well, we'll put the woman in the jobs, you know, we'll show you what freedom is. There's that inversion, that irony, that Faust.
Yep.
You know, I have like one minor pushback to what you're saying.
Sure.
I think you do deserve to be on YouTube, because whether we want to or not, YouTube is the comments. And you're on YouTube right now. And it's stupid that it's like, oh, well, if it's Shane's YouTube channel, then he can be on, but he just can't have his own one. Yeah. And all the company that runs this can exist because of government subsidies as well. So
I made that argument. I do like the argument, but like for my sanity, I can't think that way. I have to think, because it's so like I'll upload a clip to a channel that we make of just me playing like Bach. So we've done all this. I'm like showing how to grow plants and I'm playing Shostakovich, and channel immediately banned, no strikes, no warning, gone. Like it's like Soviet. And so, and then I'm looking at, you know, Bert Kreischer taking a shit on stage, telling everyone to do DMT. And I'm like, what's the standard? What are the rules? Why? Because I was ahead of schedule. Because I was ahead of the science.
Yeah.
And the way I handle it is I'm like, we have a fragile financial system, and someone like me could literally, because I'm charismatic enough and I understand marketing and humor and spells and all that, I might destabilize too much. And if I was presented with reality, like what would I actually choose? If they're like, listen, if your spell breaking worked, 100 million people would have no groceries next week. You still want to be on YouTube? And I'd be like, no, I'll do Rumble. I'm good. And they're like, okay.
Again, my pushback, you're on YouTube right now. You're just on our channel. You know what I mean? Yeah. So the actual banning is your agency in a way.
Yeah.
It's like Owen Benjamin can't be Owen Benjamin by his own volition on YouTube. He must do it through proxy.
Right. They did that to Alex Jones too. You know, same.
But
what's the point?
You want to know who else gets that treatment? Is kings.
How so?
Isn't that interesting? It's the light and the dark. So it's like you have the one who speaks for you, and
consorts.
Yeah. The king a lot of times would have someone speak for them, and they're like, you can't say it yourself. You have to have a designated. Like on my stream, I have Coddington. I call him my butler. He handles the money. You know, it's like, you know, that's where a certain demographic got their power. It's like the king wouldn't touch the money. No, you touch the money. And again, that's just how I feel. But you are right. It's like to take away the agency, that's for like slaves and prisoners. But I'm like, and the powerful, you know, I guess. But yeah, I mean, it
I like your twist.
Yeah. I think it's good to not be beholden on these.
I like your twist. I like it. I like how the framing. Like you're assuming power back. It was like, no, dude, actually, I'm powerful.
I do that with everything. I have to do it with everything, man. Because if not, it's like, and there's truth in it. It's not like I'm deluding myself. I'm like, you know, people are complaining a lot about the hats. You know, and I'll just speak that way. And I'm not into that. Like I'm like, we deserve better hats. You know, and they're like, no, the hat causes all my problems. And I'm like, I demand better hats. These movies are not good for my entertainment. They're too degenerate. Hats, do better. And that's power versus like, I can't live with these hats.
Right.
And right. I feel that way with everything. I'm like, okay, being off YouTube has forced me to have, you know, to build, to work harder on my streams. Like people have to find me. So I have to be like that good at it. versus, you know, could I have ended up one of these slobs like Bert Kreischer if I was just fed money and food, you know?
Yeah.
I just be like, hey, you want to hear the story again?
You seem totally unshackled to me. You know, like you don't. It's okay. You feel free to say whatever you want, and it might upset some people that love you, right? I think that's the best way to be truly authentic. And if you're always authentic, it will eventually hurt people around you who liked you up until this one point. Whether whatever sacred cow you aim at, that day.
100%, dude.
That's important.
I always say I'm nobody's mercenary, and I might be wrong, but I'm not lying.
I love that.